Should we abolish whiteness? It's an idea that's become very fashionable on the left. The idea of getting rid of white people is all around us. Comedians joke about killing whitey.
When we say we want to kill whitey, we don't really mean we want to kill whitey, we do. But when we say we want to kill whitey, it's like...
Artists are lavished with government grants to say mean things about white people. Politicians say the concept of white ethnicity is truly evil and urge people to only shop at black-owned businesses.
Black-owned businesses. To support them, on the first Saturday of every month, try to shop in a black-owned business, take a picture of your purchases or the receipt and share on social media with the hashtag Black Pound Day.
Well, good luck getting a swimming instructor. Academics train a new generation of students that white lives don't matter, and everyone gets sent on training to abolish whiteness.
All white people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually.
Celebrities such as Candice Carty-Williams won't date white men anymore. On behalf of white men, all I can say is, oh no, please, I beg you. White people are openly despised.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity, pretending,
fear, being fearful of nothing,
being ignorant,
blame,
letting their egos control their every move, superior at being dicks.
But if any white people dare resist, dare to push back by saying it's okay to be white, then they're committing a hate crime and they're locked up. But are left-wing people correct? Is racial genocide a good idea? Well, luckily, we know there are many places in the world where whiteness has been abolished. Haiti, Liberia and Zimbabwe have all tried this experiment. Did it deliver the utopia that academics and diversity coordinators promise? Well, it really depends on how you feel about grotesque poverty, famine, rape and cannibalism. Gangs are fighting it out on the streets and eating each other.
Till the real meat. Every day you like to eat it every day.
Whenever you see their bodies found somewhere or maybe drowned in the river, genital parts are taken off. Some legend added that the female genital is prepared in a way where the man can put it in his wallet and carry it around.
You might think that these things are bad, but that sounds like you're projecting colonialist whiteness. I'll look at what happened in Haiti, Zimbabwe and Liberia in a moment, but first let's look at the anti-white racism that somehow managed to work its way right through our society. Films tell us that there is nothing more dangerous than a white man.
What's the most dangerous animal on the planet?
Shark.
White people.
And they tell us,
when are you gonna wake up to your white privilege, man?
Articles say that whiteness is a public health crisis. And did you know that you were brainwashed into thinking European features are the epitome of beauty? There's a bookshop's worth of books on white trash, angry white men, white privilege, white fragility. White people are erased from search engine results and AI. Apparently medieval Vikings had the same ethnic breakdown as the cover of a university prospectus. White people are told that they have no culture. And it's true that when I'm looking at the Sistine Chapel or Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet, I wish it was as culturally significant as Big Chicken presents What Dat Mouth Do Cucumber Suck-Off Contest, which I heard your mum won, by the way. Billboards urge straight white men to pass the power. Children's books and TV shows push the idea that Northern Europe has always been black. Sarah Jong from the New York Times tweeted, "Cancel white people. White people are only fit to live underground like grovelling goblins." And you know the artist I showed earlier who has the F white people installation? That's Dean Hutton.
I'm white. I'm also genderqueer, a non-binary trans identity with a fat body that's a hetero, imperialist, capitalist, white supremacist patriarchy that violates us all. My use of the pronoun they, them, their.
A queer transmedia artist based in South Africa and for some reason funded by the Arts Council of Britain. That's right, white British people are taxed to pay for anti-white propaganda all around the world, not just in Britain. But while saying white people will get you an Arts Council grant, if you say white lives matter or it's okay to be white, then you're committing a racist hate crime and can be prosecuted like this guy, Sam Melia, was. I'll just read from the BBC reporting on his case. The court heard police searched Mr. Melia's house in Pudsey and found a label printer and stickers with slogans such as "It's okay to be white." Oh, what sort of monster thinks it's okay to be white?
I would say that it's completely disrespectful for the community. I don't want to see this language on that sign. I don't want young people to see the language on the sign. I certainly don't want my grandchildren to read that. It's completely inappropriate.
In recent weeks, and politicians are right on board with it. The next New York mayor, Zoltan, the fortune teller from Big, says he'll tax white people to pay for non-white gibs. Hey, at least he's being honest. Here's Dawn Butler from Britain's ruling Labour Party explaining why white people are worse than her because she's black.
You are the wrong one, the violent one, the weird one, whereas I am the chosen one, because I am of the first ones. You see this skin I'm in, this beautiful mahogany brown, this skin you don't like, I believe. So why you try so hard to achieve by burning yourself in the sun? For me, there's no need, because I am the chosen one, for I am of the first ones. I know I'm black and beautiful, an African freedom fighter. My skin is my protection, and you, my friend, don't matter, because I am the chosen one, for I am of the first ones.
And Dawn's colleague David Lammy said the reason that 13% of the prison are black while just 3% of the population are black is because white people are racist. I mean, there might be another reason that we're not looking at, David. The mayor of Camden called for people to only shop at black-owned businesses in the name of diversity. How is it diverse to only shop with one ethnic group? Even this week, Tony Blair's former top political advisor John McTernan said the concept of ethnic English is truly evil. Britain's current leader Keir Starmer booked himself on unconscious bias training, which is based on the idea that all white people are inherently racist.
In the Labour Party, we are introducing that for all of our staff, and I'm going to lead from the top on this and do that training first. So I think everybody should have unconscious bias training. I think it is important.
Let's have a look at some of this unconscious bias training.
All white people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually. So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human, like that actually, instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
So white people aren't human, according to this literal land whale. Every part of the British state, including the police and the security services, discriminates against white people by blocking them for jobs, and this is done openly and celebrated as a good thing to do. In America, government COVID relief prioritised non-white recipients. White people had to be sicker than black people to get the same antiviral drugs, even though those drugs were invented by, you guessed it, white people. Hey, you're welcome. The city of Seattle ran a whites-only workshop for public sector employees on interrupting internalized racial superiority and whiteness, urging attendees to undo your own whiteness and feel guilt, shame and fear. It's everywhere. Corporations spend a fortune on diversity coordinators to coordinate all the diversity and make sure nobody's racist to each other, which is mad when you can just be racist for free. And anti-racism looks a lot like racism, with 1 in 6 hiring managers reporting being told to stop hiring white men. As the push to abolish whiteness gathered steam, almost all new corporate jobs in America went to people of colour, with only 6% going to white people. Our culture, our media is so indoctrinated into anti-whiteness that this isn't presented as concerning, this is celebrated as a wonderful achievement. Coca-Cola had training sessions for their staff telling them to be less white. If you drink enough Coca-Cola, your teeth will be. A Drexel professor of politics tweeted, "All I want for Christmas is white genocide." Dr. Priyamvada Gopal, an Indian academic at Cambridge University, tweeted, "White lives don't matter as white lives and abolish whiteness." Yes, Dr. Priyamvada. If someone falls ill in a plane and the crew ask if there's a doctor on board, she can stand over them and explain why their death is racist. As with most people who lecture about white people's privilege, she's the product of immense privilege herself. She's the privately educated daughter of a diplomat and a member of the elite Indian Brahmin caste. She also has the privilege of being comfortable with outside toilets. If a white person tweeted this about a non-white race, they'd be jailed. Dr. Gopal was not jailed, she was promoted by Cambridge University. And Bahar Mustafa, who sounds like she should be guarding an enchanted cave in Arabia, was the Goldsmiths student diversity officer and tweeted urging people to kill all white men. These academics certainly make whiteness sound very bad. the leading black intellectual Dr. Shola Moss Shogbamimu says whiteness is the reason Lucy Letby evaded justice. They believed her tears and denials, even though evidence said otherwise, for no other reason than she's white. A black or brown nurse would have been reported to the police immediately and sacked for suspicion. Although, as we've seen, non-white groups can get away with horrific crimes against white children because the authorities are terrified of being called racist. If we're going to talk about privilege, by the way, Dr. Shola is literal Nigerian royalty. And Robin DiAngelo, the white author of the delightfully named White Fragility, suggests that white people are inherently racist and framed whiteness as a pathology, and sold a bunch of books on this idea to other white people. And Western academia is obsessed with the idea that white culture must be decolonized and removed from the curriculum. But the idea that we should abolish whiteness isn't just in universities, where we expect silly ideas to flourish in the agar jelly of failed adults and entitled idealistic youth. It's also in the Church of England, which you'd think might be a bit nicer to white people since they're the only people limp enough to attend its churches. Archdeacon Miranda Threlfall Holmes tweeted, "I went to a conference on whiteness last autumn. It was very good, very interesting, and made me realise whiteness is to race as patriarchy is to gender. So yes, let's have anti-whiteness and let's smash the patriarchy. That's not anti-white or anti-men, it's anti-oppression. Anti-whiteness isn't anti-white. I think if there's one thing you could say is definitely anti-white, it's anti-whiteness." How easily influenced are these people, by the way? She goes to one conference and comes out evangelising for racist genocide. Imagine if she accidentally flicked over to the History Channel and caught a bit of Hitler's speeches. This could be a totally different tweet. If she wanted to do her bit to abolish whiteness, she could quit and hand over to an African minister. Then everyone would be happy because they tend to be much more conservative and actually Christian instead of being self-loathing virtue signalers evangelising for the religion of wokeism. Archdeacon Miranda Threlfall Holmes isn't a one-off. The Diocese of Birmingham now has a deconstructing whiteness officer as part of an 11-person racial justice unit. The church is also setting up a £1 billion reparations fund to compensate the ancestors of victims of slavery hundreds of years ago. I'm looking forward to being compensated for my white ancestors who were taken by Barbary, Roman, Viking and Irish slavers. The Church of England released a statement saying, "God is not a white man," putting the DEI and deity there. Of course God is a white man, I've seen photos. And in Western schools, resources are denied to white children, teachers are instructed how to disrupt the centrality of whiteness, and parents are instructed to reflect on their whiteness and be white traitors. Our institutions erase white people, with Royston Museum showing Anglo-Saxons as black. Apparently we was Anglo-Blacksons, possibly from Anglo-Desh. But am I overreacting? Normies say that, ooh, but surely when all these academics and politicians say they want to abolish whiteness, they don't mean it. They just mean abolish white cultural behaviours like being able to form a queue or turn up on time or listen to music on public transport through headphones instead of your phone's main speaker, or establish a functioning civilization. I'm afraid not. They're pretty clear that yes, diversity is about getting rid of white people, and that's a good thing. Look what they openly say in Harvard magazine. Abolish the white race. The goal of abolishing the white race is on its face so desirable that some may find it hard to believe that it could incur any opposition other than from committed white supremacists. Oh, I'm sorry for wanting to exist. I didn't realise that me being allowed to breathe was white supremacy. Probably one of the best adverts for white supremacy I've seen, because I quite like breathing. Sorry if that's racist. Here's the academic Zeus Leonardo of Berkeley University putting it in no uncertain terms.
Right? And so that's why I'm coming up with this recent understanding that to abolish whiteness is to abolish white people. And that's very uncomfortable, perhaps, but it asks about our definitions of what race is and what racial justice might mean.
And you can see in real time right now how it's spilling over into the murders of white people in South Africa who are fleeing because anti-white rhetoric of politicians is driving their persecution. But even when they get to the West, the organisations that help refugees refuse to help them because they're white. The refugee organisations aren't actually refugee organisations. They're anti-white organisations who want to bring in black people to help abolish whiteness in the West. Although at the same time as they say whiteness should be abolished, they say that whiteness doesn't actually exist. The Guardian says that whiteness is a racist invention, and before the 17th century, people did not think of themselves as belonging to something called the white race. Yeah, that's because before the 17th century, white people generally only saw other white people. People now don't think of themselves as belonging to the one-headed race because there hasn't been a sudden influx of two-headed people, although I'm sure the Labour Party are working on it. Funnily enough, this kind of undermines the left's claims that Britain has always been a high immigration country full of sub-Saharan Africans. Immigration tended to be low and from nearby countries prior to the invention of cheap mass travel, which was of course invented by a white man. It's so unpopular to be white these days that some people are transitioning, like Rachel Dolezal, who caused uproar when it was revealed that the black rights activist was actually white herself and had turned herself black using spray tan and by giving herself a Klingon-esque hairline that starts halfway to the back of her head like that UK Somali rapper. But as our media class ask, why is it a problem?
If you look at parts of Dagenham, the white British population has reduced by 50% in the last 25 years.
Is that a problem?
So I think, well, the pace of change is immense, and people are sick of that. People want to see mass migration ended. They want to return to the levels of immigration that we have enjoyed as a country.
Why is it a problem if the percentage of white people has fallen or risen?
Because you can't successfully integrate people at this speed into our country.
But why does the colour of their skin matter?
White people will one day no longer exist. It's just a matter of time. Who cares, says Ed Krasenstein. Who cares if a race is exterminated? Are all these people right? Academics and politicians are very clever, so are they right to abolish whiteness? Will it lead to a wonderful, harmonious, prosperous future? Well, let's have a look where it's been tried. Academic Noel Ignatieff said, "The point is to abolish the white race. How can this be done?" Well, Haiti managed it. At one time, Haiti was the crown jewel of the French colonial empire, the most profitable colony in the world, producing a huge portion of the world's sugar and coffee. It now ranks among the poorest nations in the world, and thanks to its lawless state and starving population, produces a huge portion of the world's barbecued human testicles. Haiti's original wealth was generated through the brutal enslavement of Africans under French rule, and no one disputes the cruelty of that system, especially Brits, who ended slavery. No, you're welcome, Dr. Shola. No need to thank us. The Haitian Revolution started in 1791. Although it's portrayed by the left as a simple slave uprising killing white oppressors, Haitian society was more complex than this, with a layer of free black Haitians, who often owned slaves themselves, positioned above the whites, who were themselves separated by class and European origin, with French hated the most, some things never change, and some other nationalities respected for sometimes siding against the French. After independence in 1804, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Haiti's first head of state, ordered the massacre of nearly all remaining white people on the island, including women and children. His rallying cry was, "Leave nothing white behind you." To give you an idea of how much these guys hated white people, Dessalines' secretary, Boiron Tonnerre, stated, "For our Declaration of Independence, we should have the skin of a white man for parchment, his skull as an inkwell, his blood for ink, and a bayonet for a pen." He was born in the wrong era. He should have been a professor at Harvard. Approximately 3,000 to 5,000 whites were killed in the 1804 Haitian massacre. The new Haitian constitution banned whites from owning property or becoming citizens, the first explicitly race-based ban in the New World. Even sympathetic white allies who had supported the revolution were expelled or murdered. And what was the outcome of abolishing whiteness in Haiti? Was it good for the country? Well, they destroyed its administrative class. Almost all professionals, merchants and technicians were either white or mixed race. Their removal created a power vacuum and led to the collapse of the bureaucracy that maintained society, and it shut Haiti off economically. By annihilating the white planter class, Haiti lost the expertise and international relationships necessary to maintain large-scale agriculture and trade, and it brought international isolation. Western countries viewed the racial violence with horror. France demanded reparations in 1825 for its lost property, a debt that crippled Haiti's economy for a century. Haiti was born from the same racial vengeance preached by today's academics and diversity coordinators, the deliberate ideological abolition of an entire race. This might have been seen as seeking justice in the aftermath of slavery, but as a founding principle of statehood it was poisonous. Compare this with the United States, which abolished slavery without eliminating an entire race from its citizenry. And look at the States now compared to Haiti, which has had over 30 coups since independence. I know I'm Scottish, by the way. When I say coups, I'm talking about the military overthrow of government, not bovines. Haiti now has chronic poverty with per capita GDP below below $1,400. That's worse than Birmingham. And there's environmental degradation, poor land management, and slash and burn agriculture, which was once managed by white people, have devastated Haiti's forests and farmlands. Nearly 20 years after the last semblance of stable governance, Haiti has descended into what can only be described as a warlord-run narco-state. According to the UN, over 80% of Port-au-Prince, the capital, is now under the control of heavily armed gangs like G9 Family and 5 Seconds. They sound like rap groups from Croydon who operate with impunity in Haiti's lawlessness, extorting, kidnapping and executing civilians at will. The government of Haiti is effectively non-existent. Prime ministers have fled. Elections have been postponed indefinitely. With police outgunned and demoralised, gang leaders control everything. Gang warfare has included beheadings, lynchings and the mass rape of schoolgirls as a form of intimidation. Sometimes the murders take place on the advice of voodoo priests. In March 2024, gangs attacked the National Penitentiary to free over 4,000 of their gang members. Haiti is now the only country in the Americas where famine conditions are present. Cholera has re-emerged due to sewage flooding, which also prevents bodies from being buried. It's so poor that some militants are reduced to using bits of wood that look a bit like guns. Left-wing people will literally look at that guy and ask how quickly can we get him to London to enrich us. And Haitians make mud pies to eat from dirt mixed with salt and fat. Haitian society seems to be based around the things that I did when I was 5.
To get to the basketball court, which acts as a preparation area for the dirt cookies, you have to cross this open sewer, which is littered with animal parts and trash and other nasty things, to get to an area where the cookies are laid out to dry out in the sun. You can see that these are still very wet, not quite ready to be served, but this is literally dirt being prepared for humans to eat on top of other dirt and filth.
Celine Denis' life revolves around the cookies. For days we watched as the grandmother sat mixing the dirt cookie batter. Selling the cookies is Denis' sole source of income and often her only food.
Over 5.2 million people, which is nearly half of the population, are in need of humanitarian aid, yet aid workers themselves are being kidnapped or executed. Oh, and if aid does make it through, it often enriches the gangs who control its distribution and own or extort hotels that aid workers live in. And the aid workers aren't great for everybody. Oxfam workers were raping girls as young as 12. Oh, good old Oxfam, eh? So whiteness was successfully abolished. The white population of Haiti is now pretty much zero, except when virtue signalling lefties fly in to score some virtue points against Trump. Did abolishing whiteness in Haiti result in some kind of frictionless utopia? Well, on the plus side, it created a libertarian anarcho-state free from the tyranny of government. On the downside, it turns out a bit of government tyranny is sometimes necessary to stop people eating each other. Compare the non-white Haiti to the almost entirely white Iceland. Iceland is an Arctic desert with few natural resources, and Haiti is a tropical paradise with what should be fertile farmland and massive reserves of minerals. The people that make up a country decide if it succeeds or not. I should caveat this by pointing out that I'm a comedian, not a historian, but this probably makes me better at recounting history because I don't need to revise history to match modern ideology or risk losing my job. I don't have a job to lose. So abolishing whiteness didn't work in Haiti. What about Zimbabwe? Europeans arrived in this area hundreds of years ago and even baptised the Mwene Matapa, or emperor, in 1569. As part of the British Empire, it was known as Rhodesia and prospered, with productive farms making it the breadbasket of Africa. When Zimbabwe gained independence in 1980 after a protracted guerrilla war, there was hope. The newly elected president, Robert Mugabe, here he is, dressed as a backing singer for Shaka Demus and Pliers, called for racial reconciliation, making him significantly less anti-white than your average Guardian journalist. For a time, it worked. Good infrastructure, fertile soil and well-run farms meant it maintained a stable currency, functional institutions and a strong economy thanks to its exports of maize, cotton, beef, tobacco, sugarcane and roses. But by the late 1990s, Mugabe's regime had grown corrupt and unpopular. I know, a corrupt African leader. I'm as shocked as you are. Faltering support led Mugabe to pursue racially divisive politics, whipping up hate against white farmers, just like Julius Malema is doing now in South Africa. Mugabe said, if white settlers just took the land from us without paying for it, we can just take it from them without paying for it. The thing is, most farmers had bought their farms after independence, so the titles to the land weren't issued by evil colonial Brits who had stolen the land, they were issued by Mugabe's own government. But it didn't matter, the rule of law was out of the window. Law is whiteness, remember, so it's bad. And to shore up support, in 2000, Mugabe launched the Fast-Track Land Reform Programme, authorising violent seizures of white-owned farms with no compensation. He said, "Our party must continue to strike fear into the heart of the white man, our real enemy." Over 4,000 commercial farms were seized, often by armed gangs calling themselves war veterans, some barely old enough to remember the war. Farms were burned, families were assaulted, and many white Zimbabweans fled the country. And instead of being given to the people, as Mugabe promised, the farms were divvied up between Mugabe's family, political cronies, and military men. They turned out to be terrible farmers. They killed the dairy cattle for meat and ate the seeds for the next season's planting. Farm equipment was sold for scrap metal. Crops died in the field, production collapsed. A country that used to export millions of tons of food became dependent on charity food imports. Unemployment hit 90%, worse than Glasgow, and millions fled to South Africa and beyond. Zimbabwe's finances were so ruined that Mugabe was reduced to wearing Timmy Mallet's cast-offs. As economist Craig Richardson noted, the government destroyed the goose that laid the golden egg. And by the way, it was a white goose. Hyperinflation exploded, peaking at 89.7 sextillion% per month. I mean, say what you want about Mugabe, but he made everyone a trillionaire. Who doesn't want to be a trillionaire? Persecuting white people turned out to be bad for black people too. So, abolishing whiteness didn't work in Zimbabwe either. What about Liberia? Liberia is the only country in the world where you're denied citizenship if you're white. You have to be black and preferably born in Liberia. The country was created in the early 19th century as a project of the American Colonization Society, which believed that African Americans would face better chances for freedom and prosperity in Africa than in the United States. Well, they got that wrong. Between 1822 and 1861, more than 15,000 African Americans, along with over 3,000 Afro-Caribbeans, relocated to Liberia. The plan was a republic founded by freed black Americans rooted in Western ideals, Protestant ethics, and the rule of law. A nation in Africa, but advanced and prosperous. Wakanda forever. It worked for a while. For over a century, this elite class, the Americo-Liberians, governed the nation with a steady, if somewhat insular, hand. Alongside Ethiopia, Liberia was one of only 2 African nations to retain its sovereignty throughout the European scramble for Africa when most of Africa was colonized. During World War II, it aligned with the United States against Nazi Germany, which led to American investment in Liberian infrastructure, boosting its economy and development. Liberia was a proper country, a founding member of the League of Nations and the United Nations. However, Liberian society was divided, with the small elite of Americo-Liberians running everything and the native Liberians seen as an underclass. The Americo-Liberians adopted Western dress, Christianity, English language, and American-style institutions. As one of today's professors might say, they had internalized whiteness, and they were seen by the indigenous Liberians as foreign occupiers, culturally alien and socially aloof. Then, in 1980, a military coup led by Master Sergeant Samuel Doe, an indigenous Liberian, overthrew the Americo-Liberian government. When the regime fell, it wasn't just a power shift, it was a cultural revolution. Liberia had abolished not just whiteness as a skin colour, but whiteness as a civilizational framework. Order, hierarchy, due process, literacy, professionalism, these were all viewed as colonial vestiges to be destroyed and replaced with something authentically African. The result was one of the bloodiest collapses in African history. The years following the coup saw a series of authoritarian regimes, rampant corruption, and 2 devastating civil wars between 1989 and 2003, resulting in the deaths of approximately 250,000 people and the displacement of way more. The nation's infrastructure was decimated and its economy collapsed, leading to widespread poverty and reliance on foreign aid. I'm seeing a pattern emerge here, guys. As a warning sign of where the West is headed, one of the Liberian warlords was General Butt Naked. He raised his own militia of mostly child fighters known as the Naked Base Commandos, who were known for going into combat wearing no clothes. Other Liberian soldiers would wear fright wigs and women's dresses, even a wedding gown, sort of like a pride parade with AK-47s and cannibalization. Western journalists and academics often sanitize this story by blaming colonial legacies, but Liberia was never colonized by white people. Nowadays, Liberia is more stable, but the anti-white sentiment remains. So that's what abolishing whiteness delivered for Haiti, Zimbabwe, and Liberia. What will happen in the West? Well, it's happening already. In 1900, a third of the world's population was white. Now it's just just 7%. Wow, that's what I call an actual minority. And demographics is destiny. As Western countries import non-whites at an alarming rate, our institutions are being remade in front of us. White Brits will be a minority in their own country within a couple of decades. More than 40% of births in England have at least one foreign-born parent, and this can't be good for national unity.
What are white people superior at?
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Violence. Genocide. It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like it.
If you are white and you know this is happening and you say nothing, then you're a killer too.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oppression. Gaslighting.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression.
Did I say oppression?
What exactly are white people superior at?
Taking what's not theirs.
Taking shit.
Taking our ideas.
Copycatting.
Gentrification.
Appropriating things that do not belong to them.
Taking over other people's cultures and making you believe that they invented it.
Maybe they're thinking of it as repurposing. It's like recycle and repurpose.
As my grandma would say, them white folk, they'll take it if you don't copyright it.
They are very good at destruction of land, destruction of people, destruction of humanness.
Republican, whether you're Democrat, whether you're conservative, like white people are really good at upholding white supremacy.
It's so dumb. We had a post-racial society. Growing up, I and everyone I knew saw racism as bad and adopted Martin Luther King's ideals of treating people according to the content of their character rather than the colour of their skin. Yes, we could see that certain demographic groups had a tendency to exhibit certain characteristics, but we also recognised that for society to function and be as happy as possible, it was best to just try and get along. But instead of us all getting along, the left pushed way past this, re-racialised everything and demonised white people. They slapped away the olive branch and basically forced white people to start mobilising along lines of racial identity, like other demographic groups do, and the dreams of Martin Luther King started to falter on the rocks of reality. Nothing has red-pilled me more on immigration than seeing second and third generation immigrants resolutely identify with the tribal issues and values of their homelands instead of becoming culturally British. Voting under multiculturalism is an ethno-cultural headcount. This presents an existential risk to the West. With a growing military threat from Russia and China, Western nations want to rebuild their armies, but in a fractured multicultural society, who will go overseas and spill their blood to defend land that they've been told they have no claim to? Who will die to protect people back home who hate them? Who will leave their families while grooming gangs operate with impunity and our open borders allow unlimited numbers of men to flood in? Any patriotism has been beaten out of us. We have no nation to protect, and internal tensions threaten civil conflict as indigenous Brits start to revolt against the experiment in open borders, creating an island of strangers, to quote Keir Starmer. And why would you want to abolish whiteness? White people are measurably the least racist people in the world. A study in America found that white people were the only racial group that didn't massively favour their own race. Analysis of anti-Semitism in New York showed that 97% is from other minorities, not white people. We abolished slavery and we invented almost everything. And look at what's being abolished. The ideology states that whiteness means things like meritocracy, objectivity and individualism. These are the values that delivered the modern world. Without them, the economy and society will fall apart. This whole abolish whiteness thing is a cover for abolishing capitalism and installing communism, and I can't believe white people have fallen for it. If you think it won't end in bloodshed, look at how the October 7th attacks by Hamas were celebrated as anti-white decolonialism by the same people pushing to abolish whiteness now. So, should we abolish whiteness? Man, I wouldn't start with whiteness. Whenever whiteness is abolished, it's not being done to help black people. It always ends in famine, war and death. It's being done to give a few people power. We should abolish shiteness. Anyway, thanks for listening. I've been Luke here. Bye. Bye bye.